Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of PMWC. I would like to open the track on AI models and research for research and drug development. My name is Gary Getz. I'm professor of pathology in Mass General Hospital, Department of Pathology and the Krantz Family Center for Cancer Research, and a core institute member of the Broad Institute. And my lab focuses on cancer genomics and computational biology. The track starts with an exciting awards ceremony, and I would like first to call Tal Behar, the president of PMWC, to join me here on the stage. And I'm delighted and honored to give the PMWC Luminary Award to Jensen Huang. Jensen, can you please also join us on the stage? So as you know, Jensen Huang does not need any introduction. You all know him. Jensen Huang is the co-founder and...
I still like hearing it.
Yeah. He's the co-founder, president, and CEO of Nvidia. Nvidia developed and continues to develop GPUs that are at the heart of AI and machine learning that are changing the world, including precision medicine. Jensen has many titles and received numerous awards. I will mention a few. He was elected to the National Academy of Engineering. He received the Semiconductor Industry Association's highest honor, the Robert N. Noyce Award. He received multiple honorary degrees and was named the world's best CEO by Fortune, The Economist, and other journals, and was selected as one of the Times Magazine's 100 most influential people. Now, GPUs and AI and machine learning, the tools that are enabled by the GPUs, are already impacting precision medicine, biomedical research, and life sciences in general. GPUs are under the hood everywhere. They are impacting analysis and interpretation and translation of sequencing data, new sequencing technologies, imaging data, spatial technologies, single-cell genomics, proteomics like AlphaFold that you've all heard about, molecular dynamics, drug development, as well as the large language models that can be used by doctors, patients, and students and teachers to learn this field. Indeed, in my lab, we're using GPUs for some of these applications. Jensen, I'm not sure that you envisioned that you will have such an impact on precision medicine when you started and founded Nvidia. What you wanted to do back then, what we all wish back then, is to have faster computer games. And you managed to do that as well. It was definitely an easy choice for the committee to select you as the Luminary Award for this year. Congratulations, Jensen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here, yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Now, I will also. Okay, thank you. Now you're welcome to say a few words, and if you have time, I could continue with questions later.
I have plenty of time.
Okay.
I have nothing but time. With all of you here, all of you researchers here, doing the good work that you do, I'll probably have 80, 90, 100 years left to go. This is really remarkable. Thank you very much. I never thought we would get an award from a Precision Medicine Conference, and in fact, this is my first time here, and it's an incredible honor. We love this industry. We've loved this industry for a long time, and unbelievably, I've never been here among you this entire time. And for nearly 2 decades, we've dedicated ourselves to advancing computing. And you heard Gad talk about our starting days and building faster computers for playing video games. But at the core of it, it was always about accelerated computing, a new way of thinking about computers that can help solve problems that normal computers can't. And we dedicated ourselves to advancing that, and we built, if you will, a computational instrument, not so much a gene sequencer and all the incredible scientific instruments that you all talk about here, but in our case, it was a programmable scientific instrument. And we built it in service of researchers and scientists as you strive to better understand life in our universe. And that pursuit over a couple of decades led us to a giant breakthrough. And that giant breakthrough is one of the reasons why I'm here today. It's artificial intelligence. AI has emerged from the reinvention of computing. We had to reinvent the computer altogether in order for AI to have emerged. And now AI is reinventing the whole computer industry. Every single company, every single layer of the computing stack is being reconfigured. The computer industry looks nothing like it did some 10 years ago. And in 10 years from now, it'll be completely unrecognizable compared to the computer industry that we saw and that we came from 2 decades ago. AI is revolutionizing not just the computer industry, AI is revolutionizing every industry, and clearly yours, very importantly yours. And over the years coming up, AI is going to transform healthcare and do it at incredible speeds. The breakthroughs that we're seeing from drug discovery to diagnostics to personalized medicine are nothing short of extraordinary. Just this last year, you know that AI contributed to the groundbreaking research that led to some Nobel Prize winners. Jeff Hinton, Yann LeCun, Yoshua Bengio, pioneers of modern AI, were recognized for their foundational work in deep learning. Demis Hassabis, all of them terrific partners and friends of ours, and his team at DeepMind revolutionized biology with AlphaFold, solving a 50-year-old protein folding challenge. Now, AI is reshaping medicine as we know it, but this transformation didn't start overnight. In fact, over the last 2 decades, we've partnered with many of you to get here. We've partnered with healthcare pioneers to advance AI across medical imaging, genomics, and life sciences. Some of our earliest adopters of Nvidia's pioneering work called CUDA was in healthcare. And since then, our work is used in medical imaging, genomics, computational chemistry, AI-powered robotics. It started in the early 2000s. NVIDIA GPUs, the earliest use of NVIDIA technology was in processing CT reconstruction and 4D ultrasound. We did it with Siemens and GE Healthcare, and some of the early works also led us to doing simulations in molecular dynamics. Those were the beginning. And those early success and the notice of the usefulness of our technology in healthcare really inspired us. And it led us to, in fact, medical imaging played a large role in inspiring us to build one of the most important instruments in modern computing. We call it the NVIDIA DGX-1. DGX-1 was the world's first AI supercomputer. It's now in all the clouds in the world after just a few years, but in 2016, it was the first time a computer was designed specifically for deep learning, and we call it DGX-1. And one of its first applications was, in fact, medical imaging. And I remember when I announced DGX-1, nobody knew what I was talking about, and we had invested billions of dollars in building it. There were no customers for it, and the only customers were the NVIDIA researchers and this little startup nonprofit company up in San Francisco that all of us know now as OpenAI. And so AI has advanced incredibly fast. In 2018, AI's impact in biology became undeniable with AlphaFold and an AI that not only understands the language of humans, but an AI that understands amino acids and proteins, or the language of biology, the language of life. And so today, it's led to today. We work with Genentech and Mayo Clinic and Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, Lumina, and nearly some 4,000 AI startups, many of whom are probably in this room today, and driving innovation in healthcare. And so I think that last 20 years laid the foundation of everything that we're about to do. And in the coming years, of course, we're excited about the incredible speed that AI is going to have, but you also have to awaken to the incredible pace of this technology and be certain to engage it. We're going to advance AI at incredible speeds. AI will help doctors, of course, early predict, diagnose and treat disease before it is life-threatening. AI will scan patients' genomes in seconds, identifying risks before symptoms even appear. And if we are to get cancer, AI will build a digital twin of us and model how the tumor evolves and predicting which treatments will work best. Robots are going to perform minimally invasive precision surgery. There are some surgical robotics companies here today, probably. Robotic caregivers are going to assist nurses. Robotic labs are going to run 24/7 and accelerating drug discovery. And hopefully, we're going to have really terrific AI assistants for doctors so that they can focus on what matters, which is patients. And so AI is going to play a large role across the entire spectrum of healthcare and life sciences. But the important thing to realize is that none of this stuff can happen in isolation. In a lot of ways, we're invited here to receive this incredible award, even though the work that we do in no single instance really contributes directly to healthcare. It's all because of you and the partnership with all of you that we've been able to do this. And so these breakthroughs aren't going to come from one company or one lab. They happen because of partnerships between technology companies like ourselves and researchers and biotech companies and now tech bio companies and healthcare leaders. And so I want to say that we're incredibly proud to be a partner, a technology partner with you. And it's a great honor for me to accept this award. And very importantly, I accept this on behalf of Nvidia, but I can say that I'm accepting this award on behalf of all of you. And so I want to thank you all for this incredible recognition. Thank you. This is the first time I have an award that has a protein in it. Very exciting.
Yeah. So thank you for your words, and I would love to ask you some questions. So one question that I'm kind of on my mind is that I have a lab, or any research lab has trainees and PhD students and postdocs and staff scientists, and they are great. They come in, they learn the material, and then they come up with hypotheses, they argue with each other, etc., and then they test that hypothesis.
Argue with each other, that's called the scientific method.
Yes. And then eventually they publish. And then they move on to their next part of their career. I would love to see a future where my lab has a mixture of human researchers and AI researchers, that they collaborate and hash out or brainstorm together and come up with ideas, with the benefit of that the AI ones stay and maintain the memory of the lab. They don't move on to the next phase. So do you think this will happen, and when, and what's the gap between where we're today and for that to happen?
In fact, just in the question itself captured an enormous amount of wisdom about artificial intelligence. As you know, artificial intelligence is finding intelligence embedded in the data that you have. And that data comes from a data flywheel. You don't collect data just one time. You collect data, you try to find insight and intelligence out of it. We encode we generalize that insight into what is called artificial intelligence. We apply the artificial intelligence, which generates more data, It changes the environment. It changes what we discover. And that discovery process, that interaction process creates more data. That flywheel is fundamental to what artificial intelligence is. Artificial intelligence is not a one model that somehow has been trained however it's trained, and then it remains that way forever. Artificial intelligence is very much like us. The pre-training is kind of like going to high school, learning foundational knowledge. Post-training, which is some of the really incredible work that's being done, whether it's reinforcement learning human feedback, which is getting coaching, reinforcement learning artificial intelligence feedback, which is like essentially like a human practicing. When you're practicing a craft, practicing a particular skill, that's called post-training. And so there's interacting with other agents, so that you could ask to generate some answers. The agent would then grade those answers. We call it a reward model, which gives me feedback to do a better job generating answers next time. So all of a sudden, post-training is really about AIs learning from AIs. Yeah. Intelligent researchers arguing with each other. Yeah. And we call that post-training. And then now we have a new paradigm of scaling intelligence. We call it test time scaling. Test time scaling basically is using the AI. And during the use of AI, the AI is smart enough to break the problem down into step-by-step, or it might generate a whole bunch of answers and reflect on which one of the answers is the best, best of N. It might even do a search, use maybe a beam search, and generate a whole bunch of answers, evaluate which one of the intermediate answers is the best, takes that intermediate answers, generate a whole bunch of other answers, and so on and so forth as it searches for the best answer. So we now have three paradigms for scaling AI: pre-training, post-training, and test time scaling. Now, none of that is possible without, as you just see, in post-training and with test time scaling, none of it's possible without interaction. This is researchers interacting with each other. Yeah. And during use, the AI is going to, of course, assist us in doing tasks, and if it does a good job, we're going to give it feedback, and if it does a lesser good job, we're going to give it feedback, and all of that feedback gets put back into post-training, yeah. And all the post-training interactions get put back into pre-training, which is the reason why today's curriculums for high school is incredible compared to 1,000 years ago, because we take all of our post-training and our test time scaling of your life experiences and whatever is generalizable to be foundational, we push it back into high school, we push it back into college, and so the pre-training of future AIs become better and better and better. So this flywheel of AI is foundational to AI. And so when people are building AI, you're really building this flywheel. When because the model is basically a transformer, and a lot of it is open sourced. And, of course, I'm simplifying a little bit. A lot of it is open sourced. And so what makes one company or one researcher better at doing AI than another? The dedication to connect this flywheel. The dedication to learning. It's a little bit like humans. The ones that are most productive, the ones that are most successful, they dedicate themselves to learning. That's another way of saying you create a flywheel for learning. Yeah. You have a flywheel for learning. I have a flywheel for learning. And today my flywheel for learning includes an AI. And so I use several AIs as my tutor. And so I create that flywheel myself in the way I systematically learn. Yeah. I'm kind of belaboring this because every one of you have to do that. And the method of doing that is fairly commercialized today. It's a lot of that techniques available in open source. But before you think about developing AI, what you're really thinking about, when you think about using AI, what you're really thinking about is setting up this data flywheel, which is exactly your question. And when that happens, then researcher after researcher after researcher comes through your labs. They all contribute to that flywheel as they go off and do amazing work in the future. all of that life experience and all of that intelligence is codified right there in the lab, which is the reason why, even though people say you want human in the loop with AI, very true. In fact, the opposite is true. You want AI in the loop with human. And the reason for that, because when the AI is in the loop with human, it codifies our life experience. It captures our life experience. And it leaves it in the company and gets it better and better and better, instead of, as you know, there's just people moving on with their lives, and you like that, and you're happy for them. But a lot of their knowledge leaves with them. If there's an AI in the loop with every single researcher, every single scientist and engineer and marketeer and you name it, every single employee in your company, that AI in the loop codifies that life experience and keeps it in the company, gets better and better and better.
Excellent. So I know that Nvidia's development...
See, Gad could ask a 1-minute question and get a 3-hour answer.
We need to add AI to the discussion.
That's also,
yeah.
So that's an answering skill because you're hoping to only get one question. Go ahead. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
One more question is that just yesterday, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and 10x Genomics and Ultima Genomics announced a 1 billion cell project where they want to characterize 1 billion cells.
Yeah.
So the first question is, would 1 billion cells be enough? How would we know if 1 billion cells are enough in order to predict kind of the biology of the cells and what will happen in different kind of perturbations of the cells? And how would GPUs and AI help with that? And related to that is, do you think that this amount of data would stress the current GPUs in a way that you'll need to develop a new version of GPUs to analyze these type of data?
Well, I'm pretty sure I have to build a new version of GPU. And so, I'm hoping that we need to build a new version of GPU. My career is not over yet, I'm hoping, And so I could see it now. Jensen announced at PMW that it has ended, They found the answer. They found the end. And so first of all, biology is one of the hardest problems. I've always hoped that your industry would have the benefit of the tools and methodologies of my industry. I came into technology in 1984. In 1984, it was the beginning of a new industry called EDA and CAD, computer-aided design. The generation before us, the generation before me, did everything with calculators and pencils and, solved equations by hand. Sometimes a supercomputer is involved, sometimes a mainframe is involved, but for SPICE simulations and circuit simulations, but very rarely in the design of the chips. My generation was able to represent transistors, logical gates, high-level functionality, entire chips, represent all of it from transistors or process technology all the way up to the functionality of a computer completely digitally. Each one of that representation is different. So we had, of course, circuit schematics for transistors. We have kernel maps and logical gates for logical representations, and then C models for functional representations, and so on and so forth. And each one of the representations enabled us to scale our design, scale the work that we do, understand larger, harness the computer to understand and manipulate larger and larger chips. And so the first chip that I worked on was, probably something like 100 transistors. The latest generation of Blackwell is 100 billion transistors, more than 100 billion transistors. And all of this happened within about 40 years. Now, the benefit that we have, and now the entire Blackwell system that we're in production today, and this is a Blackwell system, is a giant computer. That entire giant computer existed as a digital twin inside our data center long before we manufactured it. And on the day that we manufactured it, I knew it was perfect. I knew that it was perfect. And part of the reason, of course, is we tried everything as a digital twin. all of the experimentation we did to it, all the torturing that we did to it, we did everything we could to in simulations, a digital twin. And that digital twin, over the course of 40 years, became so realistic to me. As far as I'm concerned, Blackwell existed for a long time as a digital twin. And when the real version came out, back in the old days, we would all run to the lab. Now when the digital twin, when Blackwell comes into our lab, I get an email and I said, take me a picture. I don't even bother getting out of my chair. And the reason for that is because I saw it as a digital twin, and I believed its existence for a long time. And so the challenge, of course, all of that is, wouldn't that be amazing if we could do that in biology? That we have entire digital twins of the human body, all of the amino acids and the proteins and the cells and the organs and the tissues, we could represent every single layer of a human. Well, the challenge, of course, is that the abstraction, the scale for biology goes from nanometers to meter. And the next problem is super important. It goes from nanoseconds to years. And a metabolic function takes across a mesoscale problem and across such a large spectrum, large span of time. And during that time, the environmental conditions are changing, sometimes over the course of years, but changing in a different way for everybody. Somebody eats too much hamburgers, somebody eats nothing but nori, and so, I don't know why those examples came to mind. Last night the reason I know why, because last night I had Japanese food, and I'm still hungry. And so I think that the nori last night, and I could use a burger. And so anyhow, the scale of biology is so incredible. But finally, if you just look at what's going on, for the first time we can understand the language of amino acids. We're increasingly understanding the language of the genome. We can understand, of course, AlphaFold, the language of proteins. Now we're on the cusp of understanding how to represent a cell, right? You can understand how to represent a cell, then you can represent billions of cells, and hopefully you could represent, the functionality of an organ and tissues, and before you know it, you can represent the entire human body. Now, how long is that going to take? One way to think about that is from the moment that we were able to represent anything in deep learning to the moment we represented a protein, understood the language of a protein, I guess that would be 2012 to 2018. That was 6 years. And then from a protein to now on the cusp of a cell, right? So 2018 to now 6 years. Surprisingly, I have no idea why, but there's kind of a rhythm in AI that's about every 6 years. And the reason I think is because it takes 2 years to get one cycle, and most engineering takes about 3 cycles. And so I wouldn't be surprised if certainly before 2030, within this decade, that we're representing basically all cells, human organs, and we have a representation of it, a language of it, we understand the language of it, and we can predict, we can understand, we can predict, we can generate.
That would be amazing. And
that was a long-winded answer for 2030.
Yeah, we all want that, and then in the simulation, we say, if we give this drug or treatment, then what could be the potential futures for the patients? Because it's not deterministic, the system, so you want to see the distribution, like when the hurricane
like weather
moves,
prediction, weather prediction.
Like weather prediction, exactly.
Yeah. And we need to predict futures, the future outcome of a particular treatment, so incredibly fast. It's not, I predict it one time. Exactly as Gad is saying. You need to be able to predict, we need to predict, in order to predict climate, you have to predict the weather 1 million times faster. And today, it takes a supercomputer 24 hours to figure out tomorrow's weather, right? and it only generated in 24 hours a few ensembles. The ensemble is probably, 5, 10 representations, predictions. And so what we need to do is within an instant predict millions of outcomes of tomorrow's weather. And as a result, we could use that same technique to predict, tens of thousands of next month's weather. And ideally, one of these days, we'll be able to, predict climate years out. And so this is kind of exactly the same problem you're just describing. We have to be able to create computers and AIs. When the day we're able to predict the outcome one time, that's very exciting. But the next question is, how can we predict the billions of times so that we can create these large ensembles and predict, how's your health going to be next year, next decade, and hopefully 50 years from now.
Maybe I have one last question is, we all, as you said earlier, can imagine or expect that large language models will affect how doctors treat patients and patients get information and doctors get information. But do you think there'll be any surprises that most of us don't expect today? What will happen when LLMs go into the clinic or go into the general use in medicine?
I think the biggest surprise, and I mentioned it in one sentence, I think the biggest surprise is that doctors are going to enjoy their jobs again. I think that's going to be the biggest surprise. All of this conversation about is AI going to replace this? Is AI going to replace that? No, AI is going to make your jobs fun again. And one of the mental models that I use for what's going to happen when we have superhuman AIs. You're not going to have superhuman AIs at everything, but you could have superhuman AIs at, of course, radiology. And so you could have superhuman AIs in very specific narrow segments of whatever task that we do. And so the question is how do we all survive, and how do we all enjoy our jobs when we're surrounded by superhumans? Well, use myself as an example. I'm surrounded by 60 superhumans. I have a weird organization. My direct reports, I have 60 direct reports, or so. And those 60 direct reports are all superhuman at a particular skill. And yet I've got no trouble working with them, brainstorming with them, creating the future with them, and I don't feel for a second they're going to take my job. If none of them are superhuman, I'm going to lose my job. And so I depend on the fact that I have so many superhumans around me, and they're not taking my job. They help make my job incredibly fun. We could dream about something. I'm one of the few companies in the world where you could start from a blank sheet of paper about any computing device you would like to make. It could be a supercomputer in the cloud. It could be an AI computer. It could be a little robotics computer that goes into a robot. It could be all of the instruments in the future will be AI instruments. That for sure. Every single instrument that you're making today will be powered by AI algorithms and will be AI assisted. For example, when people say that future cars are going to be autonomous, what are they really saying? One of the things, one mental model is that you now have a digital chauffeur. You still have a car, you have a digital chauffeur. In the future, whatever instrument that you might get a digital radiologist to come along with it. Now you have a radiologist working with a digital radiologist assistant. And it makes that entire experience a lot more enjoyable. And you could dream about things, explore about things. It seems like almost everything you want to do is possible. I feel like almost anything I want to do is possible. I just kind of have to say it. It has to be impactful and meaningful and worthy of the researchers and the engineers to go work on. But if I can imagine it, if I can dream it, it happens at the company. Well, that superpower that I have would be the superpower of every doctor. That superpower would be the superpower of every researcher and every scientist. Why wouldn't you want that? And so that's the surprise. You're going to love that AI.
Great. Thank you. Let's congratulate Jensen again. And don't forget your prize. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. It's a great honor. Thank you.